Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's special time and special edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. And I'm really pleased today to introduce you to Emina Musovic. And I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, Emina. It's I was introduced to Emina not too long ago, and the space that she comes from, she can be very intuitive. You can even call her psychic in different ways. But she's even I'd say grown past the necessity to tune in that way. Um, and is really living from this place where, like today's topic, she's living from that heart to heart guidance. And for me, it was such a beautiful example of what it is that we can do right here, right now. When we're so used to running in chaos, trying to figure out the next thing, discover what it is that we need to keep adjusting and attuning to, presumably, and I say presumably, bombarded with information from all over the place. And Emina offers an alternative that's going to bring you back into your heart, back into your center. So I'm excited to get into conversation. I'm excited for y'all to receive the gift of today's conversation. And my wish for you all is that you sit back, that you relax, and you open your hearts to receive. And if you'd like, Emina will open it for Q&A later, so you can raise your hand, ask questions, type comments into the chat box and engage with us that way as well. And I mean, it's with that, I want to welcome you to Beyond the Ordinary. It's wonderful having you here for the first time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit of your background, Emina. What guided you to work with people on a one-on-one basis and to leading through these awareness journeys, I'll call them right now?
Yeah, I think, it started very early actually, that I felt that something was missing in my life. So, I had this, I would say, very normal life with a job, and, everything went basically smooth. But there was still something where I felt I was not fulfilled. So my search started actually quite early. So I tried to find it in books and in poems that I read that time a lot, and philosophers and this. But then when I was around 35, I started to travel, and I wanted to see the world and to visit some places, and to be with some spiritual teachers, and from there basically I went from one experience first to another, until I saw that all this also did not bring me that what I really was looking for. And at the end I came to something very simple, and that is to just start being silent and to listen to myself. So I was introduced to the kind of non-duality teachings, where it was more about listening within what is needed in that moment, and less to be distracted by some techniques, and trying to figuring things out with my mind, and to analyze it, overanalyze it. And I had also a background of doing, well, I was a teacher for family constellation work and trauma-based work. So it was a lot, I was a lot engaging my mind in that time, and so, but it did not bring me that what I was searching for. So, and that was then when I was introduced to the non-duality teachings, that's where my journey really started. It was the journey within, where I could find peace. So yeah, so, and I would say I always guided people. It just changed over the years. So from basically classical therapy work into more intuitive guidance. Yeah.
Were you give a brief explanation of what non-duality and that type of work is for those in the audience who may not be
Yes.
familiar?
Yes. So it is basically, it starts with that you um, get awareness on what you are not, basically. That's that's the whole teaching, that you move basically beyond all the concepts, that you have ideas and beliefs, what the mind represents, and more come to a heartfelt space. So and the fastest way is basically that you see that everything that you perceive basically through your five senses is not what you are. So it's a very direct and fast way, because what is left is basically that what you are, so you don't engage your mind with that. So you are basically moving around that, so that's basically what non-duality is.
What did you
Yeah.
discover was your experience when you went into that place of relaxing the mind and disidentifying with the constructs of the labels that you thought maybe you had to put upon yourself so that you could make sense of your place in the world?
Yeah. It's painful.
Hmm.
So it was not, I mean, we have there some romantic ideas, maybe that you come into a peaceful place and the journey is easy, and you slide into something and then there's bliss, and that was not my experience. And my experience was that it takes a lot of courage to let go of all these concepts, because we have a lot of investment. There's a lot of identity, and we invest a lot into the identity, who we are. We want to be somebody out there. We want to be special, or someone who can, or the healer, or the helper, or the supporter, or there's so many names. So I would say it was for me quite I would say a challenge, and yeah, to drop all of these ideas one by one by one by one. And I guess it's for everyone the same that I encountered. It's easy to let go of some old pictures that we have, or things that we possess, but to really let go of the attachments that we have internally, that's a completely different story that can be very threatening to people. Mhm. So, and I would say that was for me, yeah, that.
So how would you describe, because I understand also, and I've had experiences where as I let go and surrendered of different things that I thought that I am, I can't help but to have certain experiences that I interpret of a connection that exists, but I'm not trying to identify as a channel or as a psychic or someone who sees beyond realms. It's just a state of beingness that occurs. So what's the difference of being in that state of beingness rather than identifying that you're having experiences and I guess putting my mind and my focus on, wow, I'm having this experience and I want to receive more of that.
I think you give yourself just the answer,
Hmm.
you know. So in the moment you feel there is a pull to experience more of that, then the question would be, who is the one who is experiencing that?
Hmm.
You know? So that's one thing. The other thing, everything what you perceive through your senses, also these visions, let's name them for a moment like that,
Yeah.
visions that we experience internally. When we say we come into a certain state, we become there's some information coming our way. This information makes also maybe some sense for us in our life, or give us ideas or tastes that we want to, the things that we want to change or experience. All of this is watched by another instant. something is watching all these experiences, watching all these informations coming in. So, and this is detached from that, what is coming and going. So also this, it can be from benefit. I would never say that that some information are not beneficial, that we get, but still we are not really in our embedded in our beingness. No? So if we follow this pool, when we are taken by that, that means there is an attachment and an identity that wants to experience still these kind of states, because there's nothing else than a state that we enter, So, and the easiest and fastest way is to come back to always ask the question, who is looking at that? Who is aware of this, what I'm just right now perceiving? So, and after a while, you lose interest. This is a normal effect that is happening. As more you really are resting in your beingness, you are losing interest in all these fluctuations of the mind, all these coming and goings. Something inside just starting resting in it, and feeling that all of this cannot give you that peace.
So, is it possible to lose interest in anxiety? Possible to lose interest in boredom and depression, and loneliness?
It's an interesting question that you have there. I would say it's not so much the interest in those emotional states, than more allowing everything what is there lingering still in the physical body to come to be released. But in the raw form. What I mean with that is that we mostly are very used to say, I am experiencing emotion, I am fully getting dissolved in that emotion, and I have a story attached.
Right.
And that's the actual issue. So then it starts to be sticky. Right. Because in the moment we go into the memories, we go into the stories, we start to relive something what's in the past. So that's not our state of being. Our state of being has nothing to do with our past experience, not even with our future experience, because both of them are basically still in the mind playing with us. So it is to come into the present moment, to stay and rest in your beingness, means to allow actually that all of these feelings can be there. You can all experience them, but in the raw form. So, and then you start to release them. And that the whole drama of it starts to dissolve. Well, that's where it sticks to.
Right. Well, that makes sense. Because again, wherever we're in the recreation of the mental pictures that are forming that chemical reaction, we're actually re-entrenching and fertilizing those neural pathways. And so we're adding them, we're making them deeper, we're building walls that give credit to whatever we believe is causing that. So to get it to a neutral place and to actually allow those things to flow through us. And I think that's one of the biggest, from a Western perspective anyway. I know certainly growing up in my particular environment, we weren't allowed to allow things to run through us first emotionally. We had to stop emotion short. If you were frustrated and you were throwing a tantrum as a kid, got to stop it short. You can't allow it to go through you. If you were sexualized or whatever way, no, it's inappropriate, shut that down. If you were sad, boys don't cry, shut down those emotions. Yeah. So we're not allowed to live those. And then the stories become stuck. Well, I was throwing a tantrum and I have to keep telling it because I didn't really allow my physicality to have the full experience of it and let it evolve through me. And again, being in the center of it and allowing the flow of that, it's it's profound what can happen to help us attune back into a centeredness and balance. And that brings us back into, again, what we're talking about today, which is that heart-to-heart guidance, because we can be more present and still to be in relationship with that, rather than in relationship to the different stories.
Yeah, I think no one teaches that. No, when you look into the society, no one teaches. In the school, you don't get kind of, no one is coming and saying, you know what, just keep quiet. All will be fine. You just keep quiet.
Right.
No one is telling you that. But also later on, also in the therapy and these, what is a wonderful tool, I mean, it all has a beautiful place. And no one tells you how to deal very self-responsible with things. So that there is a power inside that we all have when we start to really quiet down, inside. When we stop to follow all these noises and ideas that we get how to solve something, because it does not work. At the end, you can't solve it with your mind. You can cope with things with your mind. You will find strategies. You will find also some, I would say, a happy life that you can deal with all these coming and goings, basically. But to be really coming into a peaceful beingness, I think we all cannot walk around that fact that we have to sit down and to face ourselves internally. So
Well,
and this is the good news, actually. The good news is that we don't have to go somewhere or to travel actually somewhere to come to that place that we already are.
I love that. That reminds me of the saying, wherever I go, God goes there with me. Wherever I am,
Yes, yes.
there she is, which is so beautiful. So, I mean, how do we learn to step back into that silence of our being? What is it that we can become aware of to be in practice to cultivate that presence?
Yes. A good way is to sit in stillness. So, and I would not say meditation,
Mm.
because then the mind says, okay, let's do that.
Yeah,
Let's sit and
right.
meditate,
Yes.
you know? So because it's really beyond of that. That's why I say the first movement, I like to name it more like this, is a movement. You move inside.
Mm.
It's to just sit still and to start observing, not reacting on anything. So also not inviting or rejecting. So what I mean with that, not any thoughts or emotion or sensations that you feel in your physical body should not be invited or rejected or judged on. So, and in the beginning, this is always a little bit of a bumpy road, because of course you then first get the idea how noisy it actually is. You get to experience all the thoughts that are running through your head and ideas and distractions that are coming your way. That can be simple things like, let's go eat something now, or do something else, or call first someone, or, all these small distractions that are coming your way. And it is about being persistent, to really sit and start to observe that. And after a while, you will be automatically led internally by that peace that you will encounter. So that would be something to start with, and you can start with that for 5 minutes. It does not have to be a kind of, now I'm sitting here for 1 hour, and you try to go through this hour, and you can really start with 5 minutes and then extend it.
Yeah, and that's such a beautiful practice. I can listen to so many guided meditations and some people that are holding a field and expanding us into different storylines, we'll call them, different potentialities,
Yes.
and they're beautiful. But there's nothing that I have found that is really as peaceful and as satisfying than truly sitting in that silence and allowing the
Yeah.
gift of that to inform me, not for the sake of I'm seeking information, but opening up to the intimacy of that presence. It can't help but
Yes.
to fill you up with something that is something that we have so much access to. But again, we become so busy or vigilant in what we believe we have to be doing in order to get there, or in the hopes that eventually that one day we have enough safety or accumulation or whatever it is that we require to get to that space. And it's we have it turned around. If we're in that space, there's nothing that we need to chase, and everything is right here for us.
Yes. Yes, it's very, very true. So we used to we are used to achieve something, basically. We have to earn it. And it's also habit, because what the mind likes
Yes.
is to send you on the next journey.
Mhm.
That's one of the old tricks of the mind. He always send you to the next journey. You have do 20 steps to enlightenment, or awakening for, I don't know, awaken through breath. There is so many of these pathways. So as I said in the beginning, there is nothing wrong. The
Agreed.
question, the question is at the end, you can't avoid to just sit down. So all these experiences are good until you come to the point that okay, I have to sit down. So I tried it all. It's wonderful, but I have to sit down. No, so you can't run away from that moment where you face really the lion inside.
Mhm.
So, and that's what I meant when I said in the beginning, it takes courage, because of course it changes us. Of course, we come out of a social interaction with people, or we challenging also social interactions with people, because we start to change without we really changing, but something is transcending within, where we really lose interest in some kind of conversations, for example, some entertainment programs that we liked before, it drops. So you get more content in your just beingness. So and there is a lot of, I would say, attachments that are attached to it, that we fear to face. And that's basically where the habit hits in, where we just, okay, we postpone it. Okay,
Mm.
let's do first something else. And we like to postpone things, because it's easier for us. So for the mind, of course, because yes, we have to challenge that, but what the mind is not telling you is that actually in the moment you fall in love with yourself, because that's actually what it is. It's the love story, where you really fall back into God's lap. In the moment this happens, all these fears are dissolved. They're dissolving. That does not mean that you don't have challenges in life. They're still coming your way, but you are facing them from a different place. Not anymore from the place of I have to solve it, to fix it, to make it, to change it. Then more from a place of acceptance. So I always say the first thing that happens on the path when you come back is that something like a sentence like "I don't mind" is one of your mantras. You don't mind. Okay, there's happenings that I don't mind. It's okay. So a deep feeling of everything is fine as it is your best friend.
Yeah, that's beautiful guidance. I mean, and it's interesting because again, the way that you work with your clients and certainly the session that I had with you was so beautiful. and profound in such a simple but deep way. And in this place, you do part of your work, and part of the special offer, and we'll get into it later, is you get into providing intuitive sessions.
Yeah.
What comes through in intuitive sessions? Are you connecting with someone's other state of being through that presence, and it's informing perhaps what's coming through, or how does that work? Because again, we can talk, it's like, hey, we can get to practices of being present with ourselves. And I think
Yeah.
that's profound tool.
I would say I try to ease the bites.
Okay. Tell us more.
I
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
say I like to say it like that, because when we start on starting to observe all this internally, then some bites that might come can be very sharp. And I say these bites are still rooted maybe in trauma or in other parts that we are not aware of it. So what I basically do in one-to-one sessions with people is that I have a deep look with them together to see where are they standing now and what is it that hinders them to really come to sit. So, and I'm not talking only about that normal distractions that we have, where we have this habit. I'm also talking about things that are coming from traumata, or things that we are not aware of, basically. Feelings that are still lingering there. So, and my work is basically to put light on that. I shed light on these spots. And in the moment we are looked together and we shed light on these spots, they start to dissolve. They're coming to the surface. They can be seen. And then I basically train them together with me to look at them. Not to try to fix them, but the guidance is more to look at those things, emotions, and feelings that the people have, and to let them, bubble up. For me, it's more like kind of, okay, now we have to allow this, let it just bubble up. And I help them to go through this process. And it's in a way also a training for them how to deal with those emotions when they start sitting. So it's, for me, it's not always only a work, an individual work, then more also a teaching. It all comes together. And I would not say even, I mean, teaching is maybe not the best word, but a pointing out of something that they already know. I like it to name it more like that. I think that's more accurate. It's like you point something out, they have the chance to feel it. Sometimes people feel it the first time. They got not really in touch with it, and I feel like, wow, what's that? To introduce them actually to something that was always there, but never, there was never guided maybe in that way to feel it. So, and I help them to come to get comfortable in their responsibility, to see that there is nothing to be scared of. Then more to see you can also have joy on the way. You can also laugh about things that you encounter there, but you can allow all of this to be without thinking I'm wrong, something with me is wrong, and to really remove all of these misunderstandings that something is fundamentally not okay. Then more to see it's actually that it's a misunderstanding. Is a misinterpretation, and giving the false authority, your mind, too much power. And with that, not feeling and not hearing the voice of your heart. That's all the time there. It's just covered. So that's basically what I do.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And how can people begin to see those trappings of those minds for themselves? And the session was fantastic. Again, my session was so beautiful. for people listening who might not be able to go into the special offer, it's where are those trappings of this world that have us looping, searching,
Yeah.
vigilant in a way that we're hoping to find a satisfaction that isn't really as sustainable as we hope it would be if we were to find it in those
Yeah.
circumstances.
Yeah, I would say it's really like an illusion, you know? It's like a trap, it's an illusion. But I mean, first of all, I mean, this maybe is a bit harsh what I say now, but I would say we are all basically addicted. Mhm.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's that's what it is when I would say, okay, let's name it on the roots, you know, when we try to get the roots out, then I would say it's addiction. So we are addicted to the comings and goings, to the dramas of life. You know, when we like these roles, we lose something and feel miserable, and then we climb up the ladder, and then we feel good again. You know, so and we are really addicted to these ups and downs. That's actually what the mind likes. On the other, on and at the same time, the mind also longs to come back into the natural state. So, but we can't feel that
Mm.
because we also get bombarded out there with distraction all the time. If this is in the media, if we go out there, whatever we encounter, we are all the time in. It's all about distraction. If this is Facebook or whatever, no, there's all the time invitation there. So, and the question is, when are we full?
Mm.
It's that easy. No, so I can tell you how it was for me.
Please,
It
yes.
felt like, oh, it's all the same. No, it's always the same.
Mm.
So, and then you come to a moment where you feel like, oh God, I'm annoyed. You know, I'm annoyed by that offer from the world. So that's basically the traps that you have. You have to watch the traps.
Mm.
You know,
I
where
like,
do you go into the same loop?
right. I like getting into a space where I like to sit in the stillness of asking my particular why for something that I'm chasing or something that I'm guided to, you know, or even if I have a fear, wait, what's my real fear of my lack of finances, or because this relationship isn't showing up in the way that I hope, and or because my health is not as I want it to be, and I'm in an anxious or confused or very like extremely proactive about getting to the outcome that I'd more desire, and just being in the presence and asking several times, going into deeper layers of why, because there's a superficial why, and that's the satisfaction that comes, and a lot of times that's just the algorithm that's running so we can get from one thing to the next in a distracted type of way. But if I sit with that why and I go, well, what's the why underneath that why? And then what's the why underneath that one? And sit in stillness with it without needing to project what the outcome is on the other side. There's again a level of intimacy and a beautiful satisfaction that arises naturally um, by becoming aware from that place.
Yeah. But still, you are using your mind there,
I'm using my
you
mind, and
know?
I'm also using the state of slowing down, because in the asking the why, it's not a searching for the why. It's just it's not why. It's like, okay, but what's this why? And then finding the stillness underneath there. That for me, it is informed by the mind, but it's a sensory, it's a energetic feeling. It's my body attuning as well. And yeah, using the mind for me as an ally to inform rather than the general who's guiding the whole thing. Because there has to be a place where the mind is serving us, as opposed to thinking that we just have to get rid of the mind altogether.
No, the mind is a wonderful tool if it's in the service of the heart.
Of course.
If it's not in the service of the heart, it's not a really good tool. It's the tool that I just described that tries to find all these kind of distraction and the next journey and the next analyzing and the next. No, it comes when it comes back into the service, then it is a wonderful tool because it will be transcended on its own. You don't have to do anything with it. It's a kind of a detox of the mind when it comes into a pure state. Then it is wonderful. But the mind itself even is only just a thought. It does not exist as an entity itself. It's not a thing.
Well,
you cannot locate it in your brain.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the processor for information that's stimulated. It's not stimulated from the mind, it's stimulated from somewhere else. And really the basis of what I was sharing earlier goes down to a saying that I love to share quite a bit. And it's really a question asked from the mind seeks to manipulate, but a question asked for the heart seeks to be enlightened. And so that why is the question that's asked from the heart, not from the mind. And of course, the mind processes the impulse for the question. But the impetus or the propulsion of the energy of that question really stems from a heart place. It's not seeking an outcome, it's seeking intimacy and understanding.
Yeah. And I would like to introduce there maybe also another question. One that's also very powerful is to ask, who is aware of all of this? Who is looking at that? It's a very good question because it really dissolves all that upper part of thinking into more, okay, who is watching? And then you will see that it's a very direct question, and it pushes you back basically very quick into observing what is happening. And then you can see that the most things that we actually think and that causing troubles and problems, I would say 80% is just overthinking. Pre-assumptions also.
Right.
Just pre-assumptions that often we have sensations in our body and we name them. We give them stems. We name them as anger or sadness or whatever, nervousness or fear. But actually, when you go really to a raw feeling, then you see it's just a sensation. So I want to invite you more to don't have too much of these pre-assumptions and more giving the allowance, as I said in the beginning, to really feel everything without labeling it. The labeling is the entry point for the stories. So if you names a sensation anger, there is, I bet, a lot of stories attached to it, why I am now rightfully angry, But you could also just have that experience and let it be. And then see that it's just something that is there as a phenomenon. And I don't mean that you should minder the impact or reject that, because I feel that's a very bad thing to do, because then you start to suppress things. But more to invite to don't think that you know everything. No, we are very quick in that, it's also sharpness of the mind. We want to know because we want to have the control over things, right? That's one of the tools,
Absolutely.
That's how the mind operates, so to feel safe basically. And then to let basically to do the opposite of that would be I'm allowing to don't label that. I'm allowing myself to just feel that raw feeling, and I don't know what it is. To say, I have no idea what's happening. And then in the same time to feel, but I'm fine. I have no idea what is happening, and I am fine. I'm doing okay.
So let me ask you this, and y'all, if anybody wants to go through an experience, raise your hand. I'll promote you all as a panelist, and we'll get into a little bit of Q&A, because I think this is wonderful, because who's asking this, right? It's like, let's discover what's available there. And some of y'all have your hands raised, so I'll promote y'all to panelists and type your question into the chat as well. I want to get into a special offer in a second. So Mina, how do you navigate? Okay, that's wonderful, this space and this presence that's being held and the invitation for non-duality. So how do you navigate getting to the airport and finding a ride and deciding where you're living next and deal with you know, I've got X amount in my bank account to pay rent and electricity for this. How does that navigate with this state of non-duality?
I mean, and not everyone has to sit in a cave and to meditate for the rest of their
Right,
lives.
right.
Some people have that call and it's very authentic. And I guess that's their path, and they sit there and they have, an ashram life or a monk life or name it. And so, and that's okay. That's on them. And there is also no doubt about that for them. They knew that that's what they will do. So, and I would say, actually, you're functioning much better as more quiet you are, because you're not distracted so much and not taken so much by all the fluctuations that are happening around you.
Mm.
So you are also much faster. In a way, it's a paradox. You're slowing down, but you're faster. So because in that peacefulness, in that quietness, much things are, a lot of things are, first of all, taken care of by on its own, and the rest what is left, it's is actually quite focused to know what has to be done and how it has to, how this has to happen for you. So it's, I think it's also one of these misunderstandings that as more we are in contact with ourselves, as more we are resting in our hearts, that we cannot functioning in the world. I think then the world start really to be in service also for us,
I agree.
because we don't fight the world anymore, we don't argue with the world anymore. It costs a lot of energy all the time to argue with the world, because that's what we do when we're in resistance. What you see out there is that the most of the people, a lot of people, are in resistance. They are in non-acceptance of what is all the time, and it costs a lot of energy to keep up that fight internally.
Mm.
So this stops. So that's why I said with that I don't mind is actually a very relaxing state of being, because you let everyone and everything be as it is. You don't argue anymore with it. So yes, it works much better.
Yeah, again, one of the quotes that comes up for me, there's never been a war that's ended all wars. And what you're speaking about also is that we learn to let down that survival mode. We learn to put it down.
Yeah.
We learn to put it aside, knowing that with the beautiful heart understanding that it hasn't really been serving us. So it gets to
Yeah.
that gets to evolve into this place of peacefulness, and it's an attunement of bringing our consciousness and our nervous system and our embodiment into a place like it's okay, it's all
Yeah.
right, and to be, and
Yeah,
again
it's a very deep
that
trust.
yeah, it's a deep trust, and part of us is survives for that survival mode where if I let that go, I'm not going to be safe. Let me fight to keep at least a part of it or some of it, or let me turn around when but let me just be sure it's there from time to time so that I can be sure that I can survive. And again, what you're speaking and the way that you're guiding us and what you provide in private sessions so beautifully, it's the reminder of the alternative of the
Yes.
peacefulness and the trust that can, and the trust of
I'm
a place of
experiencing a
knowing.
little bit here of internet problem.
That you're back. So
Sorry,
um,
yeah,
it's
it
a
was gone for a moment. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's okay. So let's do this. Mary Lane, I'm going to get to you in a second. Thank you for raising your hand. I want to go through and experience with you. Actually, let's go to April. Do me a favor, put the link for the special offer in the chat box. Y'all, the special offer button should be underneath the video as well. But before we get into the special offer, and we've attuned to it a little bit, we talked about it earlier. But Mary Elaine, let's get you to come on and let's have you go through an experience, and so y'all can get a taste of what might come up during your session with Emina. So Mary Elaine, welcome to the call.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Emina. I so resonate with what you have shared today, because I've struggled. I've been a professional for many years and worked in healthcare and identified with that role and of service. And I have struggled. Sorry, somebody's trying to call me, of course. I've struggled to find out what the next step is. And so I've definitely, if I find my phone, I will turn it off. Sorry. I apologize. So I've really been sitting in the stillness, and I think that your comment about it's all right, or I can't remember how you said it. I'm coming more and more into that, because sitting with the uncertainty can bring up anxiety of what is next. And I'm getting better with it. I'm trusting, and I think that the trust in ourselves is where we falter, where I falter. So I guess if there's a question, I don't know if there's or something that you see or something that you can intuit for me as to how to better sit with that.
So what is happening when you sit down? Is it that you experience a lot of noise through your mind, or how is the experience for you?
No, I think that I do listen to my heart, and I have found that I'm better doing that, sitting with just the stillness.
Yeah.
I don't watch television. I don't watch the news. I don't engage in social media. So I've tried to limit those distractions as best I can. And yet life, is busy. We have to, I have to, as you said, pay the bills, do our daily things in the world. Because I don't want to be a monk. I want to be in relation and be in the world, not of the world, I guess.
Yeah. So what are you struggling with then?
I'm struggling with where I best can serve, where I will be of best service in the world. Because I want to be of service. I don't want to be in the cave meditating. I want to be in the stillness, of course, and use that as my lead to direct me in the next steps, in the next path. But there's a but there, I don't know where I'm to be. And so I'm still sitting with that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I think you said something very beautiful. You said how to be in service. And I would say the invitation for you would be you just drop the idea first to be in service and to start to come really back into your center, So I would say that's the first thing to focus on. So it's less to focus on what to do out there, or when people ask, what is my purpose? What should I do now with my life? Or what's the next step for me? And I would say this is all questions that are coming, of course, from the mind that wants to know, we talked a little bit about that, you know, when I said we want to know what is happening tomorrow. We want to have the control over things. We want to know if it's safe enough to do the step, you know. And I would say it's a little bit, you have to do the step without to know that there will be any reward, you know. So you have no idea what will happen, basically. And it's not important, because in the moment you enter your beingness, you more and more you feel that content peace, that there is no need to know what is tomorrow happening. And with that, you open up yourself for miracles, you know, so that life can start to guide you from within and from the outside. You know? So because in that moment of allowness, we make space. You know, because when the mind comes, it's a very rigid place. This knowing place can be very rigid because it is very limited. So we don't let life really, you know, flow through us. You know, we start to move with life as life itself. So we give them the chance, the opportunity to penetrate us. We get receptive for ideas and creative movements that comes very authentic from our heart. So these manifestations that are coming naturally, we're allowing them to take place. So I feel for you is you said something also nice. You said, I want to be with people. I want to be basically in life, no, with life. So, and it's allow yourself that fully. It's also to be really brave, to be heart open with people. It's one of the very tricky ones. We try a little bit, you know, to guard ourselves, you know, but to really go into the experience, to drop the idea and to say, okay, I feel very raw, but I'm going out there now and I'm connecting with people, to see that you are connecting with yourself when you connect with them. So I feel a little bit there is a hesitation in you, you know. Can you sense that? It's a bit like a resistance, like I want to do it right, you know. I want to make it right. So it has to be a little bit perfect, you know, like so it's a bit like the discipline. You have the discipline to say, I'm not looking for social media. I am looking, you know, to don't be too distracted. And we can also overdo all of these things. And then we are also in a very rigid place. So it's,
I've never been afraid to put myself out there, right?
Say it again.
I've never been afraid to really I've never been afraid to put myself out there.
Yeah.
You know, I've, you know, it's part of life. Yeah. Thank you. That was beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you, Mary Elaine. And it goes deeper in the sessions, what becomes available. And again, the stillness that gets engendered in session in a group call, it's, again, that presence, you just can't help but to feel yourself in ways that perhaps may seem foreign, or ways that maybe we glimpse daily or weekly or monthly or yearly, depending on the circumstance. But again, as we immerse ourselves in those waters more and more, and as someone can so expertly point out those things, as like, hey, this is what's coming up, or look at this, or how about if there's a different perspective around this, what becomes available within yourself. It's so beautiful. And my experience is that the more I'm in that stillness place and what evolves, it's not about me being of service and finding what it is that I do to be of service so that I can earn whatever I think I need to earn, or that I can turn the world into what I hope it should be. But I just find that I just can't, it's that being of service is just the natural thing that happens. And do I even want to call it being of service? I'll call it more being in a new version of love that I get to experience from a deeper place.
Mhm.
the doingness of it and the hope to fix something else, the definition of that shifts.
Right.
But again, that's
It's
because
being rather than
that's,
the doing.
yeah, well, and that's also because perhaps I'm not judging myself or my circumstances in the way that I was judging it before. It's amazing. It's amazing what comes through. And Amina so expertly attunes and describes all of this. So it's, Marilyn, thank you. I mean, again, the space that you hold is just profound. I'd love to take a minute. If y'all have opened up the special offer page or clicked on the link, I mean, guide everyone what they're going to receive with you by participating in this.
Can you, I didn't get the first part. You was a little bit stuck again. Can you say it? Sorry, can you say it again?
It's okay. We let everyone know what they will be receiving in your special
Yeah.
offer.
Yeah.
And I'll open up the page and share as well. So see if that makes it easier for y'all.
Yeah. So I will just, okay, there.
So Amina, can you guide us in your special offer?
Yes. Yes. So what it actually is I am offering a one-to-one session with me. So for everyone, and then after that, and so in the one-on-one session, it's about that what I already said. It's looking into the things that hinders you basically to feel yourself deeper, or to come to the heart place, and to let go also of these resistance. Actually, it's also to look where you have resistance to sit down, where you have resistance to release things that no longer serves you. So that's what we do in the one-to-one session. And yeah, so we have a just a very deep look into that. And after that, I will also guide group session where we come all together, and you can, because there will be a little bit time in between, where you can also, after the session, set the information can settle down. You can feel more about it, and if there are questions coming up, that we are addressing them in the group to see what is there still unclear, or is there something that came up through the session that was unexpected, or you would like just to share. Maybe there is something where you say, okay, I have an insight that I would like to share in the group. So it's an open space for that. Yeah.
That's wonderful support that you're providing here. And again, y'all, both the Q&A and the individual session, $149 for both. And I mean, let me ask you, and again, I've had my experience in this session, and again, outstanding. It was just beautiful and profound. And the state of peacefulness that it engendered was such a gift. Is there a theme that shows up in your one-on-one sessions for people when they first start working with you? Is it, or what can evolve if someone comes in?
You mean, I mean, that's a very individual process, you know. I mean, of course, you cannot say everyone is the same. You know, I mean, there is something coming up where I could feel, okay, maybe this is a topic of resistance, or this is a topic of, okay, how to let the control go, or a topic more, okay, first there's something else has to happen in between because there is just too much tightness, you know, friction inside, you know. So that would be a theme for me, without now to go into a personal story. So I am not really going with the people into deep stories and staying there too long. It can be at a point that we talk about that, you know, so to get some clarity on things. but it's more to have a generalized feeling of, okay, where do I resist? Because this is also what will happen when you sit down, is that resistance. Where is this control coming in, where I can't just let go in it, or drop these ideas? So what is the fear behind that? So it's a more general question that I ask, and then of course we come to the root of it. We enter the root of it, and we start to get the roots out. That's what it is. So, and this is, of course, it can be challenging. People know that work with me, it is a bit challenging, because I mean there is a kind of friction that happening. Someone wants to get the roots out, so the roots are not without reason there, you know.
Right.
So we all have that, or because we wanted also to protect something inside, you know. There are parts in us that we are scared to really expose. So it's about a very soft operation of it, a soft detox.
Beautiful. I love that.
Because it's always embedded in law, you know. It's not, it feels maybe like scary, but in the session people mostly feel that they are very taken care of, you know. They are very much guided, and you're not left alone in that, you know. So because I know how that place feels like, it can
And
be a
people
little bit
aren't,
scary.
yeah, and the people in your sessions aren't left to fend for themselves afterwards. There's really a beautiful landing,
Yes,
and
yes, that's
empowerment that
very
comes
important.
through. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
important.
And
This is
that,
wonderful.
yeah, that's a very important thing for me as well, that the people coming out and they're having a feeling of, I can deal with this. I know I will be fine. So also if there's some after effects, I can deal with them, because I'm now coming from a place where I know what's happening. No, it's not anymore that scary place somewhere that is lingering, and we feel something, but we don't know what it is. Then we shed so much light on that when there is some leftovers, I would say like bubbles that has to come up to be released, you are coming from a place of, I got this, I know what to do. I'm just letting that now be, and I know I will be fine. So that's for me to come into that simple recognition of that. That is very powerful. You know, it sounds very simple for people and say, okay, what to do? But this is basically the master key to for your basically work with yourself, if you can even say it, if for your embracing yourself, sitting with yourself, giving yourself the allowance to just be. And it's wonderful. So it's very ordinary and simple work.
It's so
That's
beautiful.
why it's dismissed, you know. I would like to say that, because it's dismissed because we search so much for something to happen out there, you know, a big bomb, you know, something like the bliss, or the, you know, something, you know, something profound, that we dismiss this simple, very simple guidance that comes from within, and that is just to keep quiet. If you feel stressed, keep quiet. If you feel fear, keep quiet. And as more you repeat that, you see that something inside is just tuning in, it's just falling back into it. Because it's so organic that everything in us actually wants to come home. That's the beauty. We want to come home. So following that wrong authority is basically working against that.
Right.
So, and then still there is the longing, you know, there is a longing, it pulls us, it calls us all the time, it calls us back.
Yeah, well, great guidance. So, Emina, let me ask you this. So you do these awards and this amazing work of people, again, bringing them, helping them find that home within themselves. I have so many amazing speakers on this call that they're such great guides for what's possible as we're evolving in consciousness. So many people, I hear a lot from our community, But what do I do? How can, again, Mary Elaine, how can I be of service? I just want to help others. I just, did the inspiration for you to do this type of work come from a desire of being of service? Or why is it that you do what you do?
I didn't have that, to be honest. I never had a
Mhm.
choice. That's really what happened to me. It's in my individual story, basically, that I was thrown out there. I saw things and I spoke out things. I tried even for some time, to be very honest, when I lived in ashram, I tried not to engage in anything.
Mhm.
Violently, even like I don't want to talk with anyone or to, and I also stopped working with people in that time. But still, people came to me, asked me other stuff.
Right.
So it always came back to me. So I definitely never had a choice. So, and I did not have the longing to help people. I never was a helper or someone who had kind of a heart desire, I want to do this for people. Then more, I was always driven by, I want to know who I am.
Hmm.
And with that, I shedded so many things inside. I unlearned so many things that somehow on the way, I would say it always happened that I guided people.
Hmm.
So, and now, of course, I experience a lot of joy. That's one of the reasons why I do that. I have just a lot of joy and fun doing that. But it's not that I feel that I have to do that or that this is
Right.
my purpose. The only purpose that I have in my life is to know who I am
Hmm.
deeply. That's my purpose for myself. That's what I find out. And it is also my only responsibility to really be myself.
Mhm.
So that's authentically how I feel about that. And to be at service is something that we all are automatically anyway.
Thank
We
you.
are in service without really wanting to be that, because walking on this earth, mirroring each other, so many things all the time. Also, sometimes being the villain in some stories, or for someone else, is also to be in service. You should not dismiss that. To make it difficult for someone is also to be in service. We often only having gratitude for the beautiful things that happen in our life, but we should also have the gratitude for all these things that are very difficult,
Hmm.
because that's actually the growing pain that we need. That's the friction that we need to figure it out. What is there beyond of this? So, I mean, in all of that, we are in service continuously. So to search some special service, I would look at that one.
I
So
agree.
that's what I always did. I was always questioning that, because internally said what inside wants to be something or somebody, that's something that I would start questioning, because that comes from another need, a need to be seen or to be validated or something. So that's things that I would watch.
Mhm. So
But
beautiful. Yeah.
we are naturally, all of us are naturally in service. There
Mhm.
is no such a thing like a bad thing.
I had a feeling you were going to go there. That's why I asked, and it's very resonant and I'm very much in tune with what you're speaking. So thank you for
Yeah,
that reflection. Um,
yeah.
we have someone that wrote in. I wish I knew your old name on here, but unfortunately I don't. But the comment is, "I love your energy. It feels so true." And they're asking, can you say something about the huge transformation that's happening on our planet right now with all of us? As I am peace, I trust that it will emanate to others and new earth will be created. Does this resonate for you?
Well, that's an interesting question. It's
Mhm.
it's funny. Something like this always comes around the corner. You start talking about the beingness and the self. So it's sweet. So I would say, I personally don't see any conscious shift, but I am also not interested in that. So I can only talk from my perspective here. And I would say I'm really not so interested in those topics because I see that everyone individually should just know who they are. And then the whole world is okay as it is. You know, in the moment when we discover who we are, the whole world awakens as well. And it awakens because it awakens in ourselves. You know, it's just a reflection. So I also come back there again into that very simple sentence that I mentioned in the beginning when I said I don't mind. Now we can get a taste a little bit how deep that actually is. When I say I don't mind, what does that mean actually? It means I don't mind what is happening out there. I don't mind. Okay, I recognize that. I acknowledge that. I acknowledge also the pain maybe in some situations. For example, when there is a war or something, I acknowledge that. No, I have compassion for that. But I don't mind. I don't want to change that because everything what has to happen is happening anyway. So it's a less that you are busy with, are we really consciously all shifting, than more to see that the only shift that is happening is inside of you, and then everyone shifts. I hope this is clear somehow. It's a very important point now. I feel it's very important because in the moment when we shift, there is no difference between us and that what is happening in the outside. No, in a way, I have at this very moment a monologue with you. And it's good to feel, because when we say we want to save the world, we can't save the world. And there's nothing wrong with the world. The world is beautiful as it is. You know, it's a wonderful world in that we live. It's just a view, how we look through the fog of our conditioning into the world, in our desires and with our pre-assumptions, how it should be. And when all this is removed in one moment, then we come back into something very ordinary and simple. And that is all as good as it is. And then your light will transcend on the way things without you knowing that you're transcending something.
Right. It becomes a path of a different type of resistance that we've become accustomed to. It's organic. Again, that pressure that allows us to grow, that pressure that allows the diamond to become more refined naturally. It just happens.
Yes. It's also it's inspiration, you know, you inspire people by just being. You know, because we are so used to see all these big names or big achievements, and then someone comes around the corner and does not want anything from you.
Right.
That's a diamond.
That's a diamond.
Yeah, it's just sitting there and shining. You know? And suddenly you feel very peaceful in the presence, or you feel inspired, you know, in their presence. And they don't want anything. And that's the reason why you are inspired, because there is no needs that comes from that person to be so content in that.
In that place of peacefulness and of knowing of themselves. It's the gloriousness of being human and what's available through that. There is ecstasy in that, not for the sake of searching for it, but it can't help but to be it in all of the experiences that may arise. So again, quite profound. I mean, we can talk all day long.
Yeah.
And it's so wonderful. Y'all, the special offer with Emina, it's the link's right below. It's in the chat box, highlighted in blue. Click on that, go deeper, have your session. I highly recommend it. It's this on steroids right now, receiving yourself. It's so beautiful. And to have the 45-minute support group session afterwards it's such a gift. So thank you for your generosity in putting that together and at the price point that you're offering it in. Y'all, we're going to run the replay of the call as well. So we'll render the video. We'll have it up a little bit later this evening so you can come back and listen all week long and tap into the stillness and peacefulness. I'm feeling it, and a lot of y'all are commenting on the chat box as well. And what a wonderful gift to be in that place. So luxurious for me right now. Emina, thank you so much for how you're
Thank
showing up
you.
and the presence that you carry and the grace and the elegance in which you just organically are emanating that diamond. It's beautiful. Blessings to you and your work. And thank you for blessing us with your beingness.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I did as well. And all of y'all, thank you for being on the call. Thank you for your diamond. Just for your presence. It's absolutely, again, what a gift to just be with all of y'all. I look forward to seeing y'all on the next call. Until then, I love you.
Thank you.
And have a wonderful day.
Thank you.